After 2 years of planning, we finally get to the build stage for my garage. If you're interested in everything that's led up to this point, then go and look at the playlist. 2 years ago, it started with me trying to figure out where exactly I wanted to place the garage, get the vehicles lined up in the garden, and laying out bits of drain pipe to kind of see where I wanted to put it. We inherited a big mound of earth in our garden when we bought the house, and it seemed like the best place to put the garage. The only problem was the mound makes it a bit tricky to lay out a square on the ground. So fast forward to a year before build, and we decided that we would take off one of the wings of this earth mound, basically give it a bit more space, try and visualise exactly where we want the garage to go, and also gives me a bit better access to get the defenders out, in and out of the garden. It was a lot of hard work. The kids gave a hand, but keeping them entertained was a bit of a challenge. But essentially we ended up shifting all this earth round to the other side to clear up a bit of space. Nothing says family bonding like shifting earth from one place to another. The garage is going to be built next to this beech tree, and it dictated the depth of the foundations based on it going to its full height of potentially 20 metres. We didn't want it to go that high, so about 6 months before build we had it pruned. We had the crown reduced just to keep it at a more manageable size and ensuring it doesn't go as high as it actually could. The builders were booked in, the dates kept getting shifted. Originally it was going to be May, then it was June, and finally started in July. But to get to that point I actually needed to know exactly where I wanted to put the corners of the building. And to do that I used these metal fence stakes and slipped some drain pipe over the top, and that gave me a bit of a visualisation of where the walls and the corners would go. Plus I had this really long bit of drain pipe that could take it up almost to this is 4.5 metres and the ridge height is 5.1 metres, so give me a bit of a visualisation of what's a good position, how can we put it in the garden so it doesn't block the view of the tree. For the longest drain pipe it worked quite well, putting an extra bit of wood in to stop it bending. Then once I had the drain pipes I could take a load of photos, and basically I could draw in quite crudely between all the drain pipes the eaves height and the ridge line to see what I thought about the final position. I also drove one of the vehicles in just to get some sense of the scale of the building. I also drove the vehicles in and out a bit, just trying to see if the driveway was going to function as intended. So we had the final build date. I needed to shift the roof rack, trim the grass a bit, figure out how I was going to film the time lapse of this project. And then one Friday summer's evening, the groundworkers turned up. The main focus was to start removing the soil pile where the building was going to go. And these guys were on it. I mean, I was hardly able to get the camera set up before they started digging. The main contractor also turned up as well, and little did I know that this 10-minute conversation here saw me confronted with a quote for an extra £7,000 for something that I'd inadvertently agreed to, but we managed to get it down to £1,800. But that wasn't a great start, to be honest. Rubbish. Polystyrene. The whole fence post. day 2 complete, so we're basically down to bottom of oversite level. The floor comes up from that moment, so it'll be 150mm oversite and then 200mm slab, so that's 350 below the datum point, which is basically the top of that stone is going to be floor height, so it goes back in. So I'm going to need to check at the far end. Yeah, so he's going to come back tomorrow and do the trenches, around the edge. That's got to go to 1.65 meters deep, so I guess that's going to be from this point, from floor level, maybe from ground level, not sure. But today's Saturday, it's going to come around on Sunday, and then Monday we've got building control. And yeah, it's probably within the week we'll be getting the pour done. So do the foundations, the strip foundations first, then so this has been cut a bit wider. Do strip foundations first, and then at the actual perimeter of the slab, they'll build up bricks sort of in the middle of the strip foundations, and that will retain basically the slab, so the slab will then rest on top of this half of the strip foundations, basically go up from there. So yeah, dig these holes, pull the slab, build up the bricks, put in the mesh, pour the floor. Job's a good one. Right, let's go and have a look at that height. So we're at the far end. That is about 650. It's 350 of material slab, 150 of oversite, 200 slab, so then 300, so about a foot. We're going to be about here. The floor level is going to be about here compared to this. So that was one of the unknowns, as I didn't really know, because there's a slight slope, how much you're going to have to cut in at this level, but that's nothing actually, because there's going to be a door opening on this side. That's going to be very easy to landscape, just a foot or so. Look at that corner, nice clean edge, pretty much. So yeah, foundations will be about here, and the edge of the garage will probably be about here. They're going to be 450 wide. Engineer spec. So that will be about that in relation to the rest of the slab there. This is what remains of our big pile of mud in the garden. We actually got him to, he asked if we wanted the topsoil, we said yes please, because we don't have very much, so he's loaded up this side with topsoil, and then we had an extra few buckets on the top. We can use that topsoil in future, but basically there's enough space for the door at the moment, which is sort of about here down, because that's a double width door. Yeah, it's changed the shape of the garden, which is great to see. Big old dig of this. That's basically one day digging. We worked out it's probably about 8 loads on his tractor. He took away 2 on the first day and then 6 today, something like that. Maybe 8 or 9. Look at that. So I'm crouched down at the moment. But so what's this? This is about chest height. Another side done. Needs to go a bit lower, I think. It's one of those places because of the rock. I mean, this is the bucket's 450 wide, but you know, well, let's measure it. What's that? That's about 1 metre. That is the widest bit, but yeah, a whole bunch of concrete going in there, and I'm hoping they're not going to charge me if there's any more than expected. Is that my cost or is that their cost? Guess we're going to find out. Because he wants to do the pour tomorrow, so I doubt they're going to bother with any shuttering. They're just going to fill it all up to oversite level, I think. So that is the end of digging on day 2. All along there, along here, 2/3 down this side. Digger driver reckons he's at bedrock down here, so we're supposed to go to 1.65. This is between 1.5 and 1.4. That's actually 1.2 in that corner. So building inspectors coming tomorrow and we'll see what they say, but should be right if we're down to fairly solid ground. Originally we had to go to 0.9 based on the general plans for supporting the slab. That'd be about here. And then building control wanted to go to 1.65 because of the beech tree right next door, which we said, you know, we're going to keep it at the same height as it is, which is about 5 or 6 metres, and they said it could go to 20 metres, so you need the foundations for that reason. But if we get down at bedrock, then unlikely the roots are, I guess there's 2 parts of this. One is the roots. The roots are unlikely to penetrate into bedrock. They can. And the second element is water uptake. So the tree will have a big impact on sucking out moisture, particularly in dry times. It might suck out a little moisture and then cause subsidence. But I think this ground is pretty stable. So we're at a level that's probably quite stable anyway. So we'll see what building controls say, but hopefully it's not an issue. I doubt it would be. And these are all the measurements. I've just taken the opportunity to do the measurements all the way around from existing ground level. So we're not able to get to 1.65 anywhere, or at least as far as the digger driver is concerned. Got a bit more of this trench to do, and then across that side tomorrow, and then the pour in the afternoon. So in theory, that should be most of the digging done. In fact, all of the digging done. Then it will just be putting the oversite in as of tomorrow, and that will be a 2-day process to get back up to oversite level. Watch this space. That's a nice summer downpour we have. I'm just curious if there's any standing water, because well, there's not. Actually, it's beneficial though for the concrete pour, because it will moisten the area. It won't suck all the water. The ground won't suck all the water out of the concrete before it's ever time to cure.